We can blame all this on Chris Dwyer.
Well, Chris Dwyer, when I was at Eastern, was a guy that was wanting to get in the fighting scene, and he kind of looked to me up because I was the wrestler. So he wanted somebody to train with, and he also wanted to teach me so I could become better, and then he could have a better opponent. But one thing led to another, and I got as good as he did. So when he fought his fight for $100 up in Chicago, I was invited along, and I fought as well.
We met at Eastern Illinois University in Lance Hall. I had known him as a wrestler. He was walking around with a friend of mine, and I was looking for training partners for me to train for mixed martial arts. And he was an all-American wrestler. I knew that he'd be really someone that would help me to get better. And I had asked when I was with my friend Joe B. that if he would come work out with me, and Matt said sure. And we had set it up, and we ended up setting up, regular times to go in and work out in the EIU wrestling room, and I would show him moves, and he'd make me tap out, and that was kind of how it started.
Matt started working out with him, and Matt said he was going to go to Chicago to fight.
The EIU wrestling team held a picnic, and his mom was there, and she talked to me. She'd known Matt was signed up to fight pretty soon, and she came up to me and said, I don't like you, I'm mad at you. And I said, don't worry. I said, I would do okay in this fight. Matt's really gonna do just fine, you just wait and see. And I know you could tell she was really nervous about her boy fighting in this thing, and I was kind of the bad guy then, but I think she was half joking, but she probably didn't like me a whole lot either at that point.
It was a all-girls Catholic school, Madonna High School, and my first fight was for $100. I can't remember the date. I think it was in '96, but quite an eye-opening experience.
So we went up, and Matt did win his fight, but I really didn't know what we were getting into until I saw that first fight.
When I took that first fight, I didn't know what a big payday was or this and that. So they said, "Hey, we'll give you $100 to fight." I thought, well, that's great.
After that fight, he turned some heads. People saw him there, and no one knew him. I mean, I knew who he was, and people at Eastern knew who he was because he had, was a well-known wrestler there. But people here in fighting had never heard of him. He was unknown, and he came in there and he turned a lot of heads. I remember Joe just thinking, wow, he really kind of stole the show that night.
And so after the fight, I told Chris, I said, you're all to blame, Chris, for this.
The night of the event, UFC champion Pat Miletich was refereeing the fight. Even the seasoned vet could see something special in the young fighter.
What stood out with me the first time I watched Matt fight, I actually refereed that fight. I believe it was his first fight. Was just his tenacity, his athletic ability, his strength, and a canvas that could definitely be turned into a masterpiece and be absolutely a world champion was what I thought instantly.
After easily winning the fight, Matt fell back into coaching, dismissing the bout as just another opportunity to compete.
Well, after the fight was over, I didn't quite know what to think. Was everybody going to be as easy as that guy was? I mean, I beat him in like a minute and a half or something, and pretty easy fight. He was a stand-up guy. I was a wrestler, so as soon as he was close enough to punch me, I just took him down, and he didn't know what to do. So I just thought it was easy. I didn't know if I was going to fight anymore. Like I said, it was just competition. So I think I didn't fight again until a year later.
I think his purses went up after that. I'm not sure if he got $100 anymore after that. They probably went to $200 or $400.
Well, I got a call to come back and fight at the same show, still at Madonna High School. And my first fight was for $100, and they doubled my money this time. So I was going to get $200 to fight, and I thought that was great. Here I am, going to get $200. So I took the fight, and once again, it went pretty easy for me. I think I won in like 2 minutes or a minute and a half or something. So I can't remember that guy's name, but I ended up slamming him and breaking 2 of his ribs. Well, Pat reffed my first fight, my $100 fight up in Madonna High School. So I got to know him, a little bit, and then after my third fight, he said, hey, you need to come train with me. I can teach you some things.
What Matt didn't know was that the night of his third fight, a promoter named Monty Cox was in the stands. After watching the fight, he was convinced there was something special about the kid from Hillsboro.
Well, my third fight was still at Madonna High School. Don't know what I got paid, but it ended up being a draw. We ended up clashing heads, and he ended up getting a cut out of it. So they said, no, there's no winner, and since he couldn't continue, Monty said, hey, if I was your manager, you would have got a win out of the deal because it's not your fault he couldn't continue. So he said, if you take me on as a manager, I'll get you more fights, number one, and number two, this will never happen again. I'll be able to protect you. The big thing for me was that Pat Miletich was with Monty, so that gave me somebody to go train with and a camp to learn from. It looked to me as a joint thing. I got Monty and Pat at the same time, so that was the big kicker for me.
With the ink not yet dry on the contract, Pat Miletich set out to mold Matt into a world champion. The former All-American wrestler was now a professional fighter.